may be yes. A nuclear bomb lies buried somewhere in the nearby Wassaw Sound. There's no way to tell how dangerous it is because the government can't find it, and it's not an isolated incident. In fact, there are as many as 7 nuclear bombs that are classified as irretrievably lost in the United States, according to military historian Doug Keeney.
The United States has actually lost quite a few nuclear bombs. I think the most contemporary numbers is perhaps 11 nuclear bombs worldwide, but the vast majority of them are in the United States.
Military uses the code words broken arrows to refer to the lost bombs. They've been a carefully guarded secret for more than 40 years. That's because most of the weapons were lost during top-secret missions that took place right here in the United States. Our search for the truth begins in Goldsboro, North Carolina, January 24, 1961. A B-52 bomber carrying 2 thermonuclear hydrogen bombs is refueling in midair when suddenly there's trouble. A tear in the right wing is spotted. The pilot's got to act fast. As the plane prepares for an emergency landing, the wing rips from the fuselage.
Oh my God! Plane's on fire! Oh, we gotta get out of here! Please, someone help us!
The plane explodes in mid and crashes into a cotton field near Goldsboro. Several crew members are killed, but miraculously, neither nuclear bomb detonated. A team of military investigators rushes in to retrieve the weapon. One bomb is found, but the other has vanished into the soft, muddy earth.
The government very deliberately kept many of these accidents secret, both at the time and even to the present day.
Goldsboro is littered with secrets that the government wants to maintain.
The Goldsboro incident happened at the height of the Cold War, a time when Americans lived in constant fear of a Russian nuclear attack. But they were unaware that their own Air Force was secretly flying live nuclear weapons right over their head.
They were flying simulated combat missions over our homes, over our churches, over our houses, over our neighborhood, oftentimes with nuclear bombs.
The attacks were generally carried out overnight. You're sleeping safe in your bed, and we're practicing wiping out the world.
Nuclear arms expert Stephen Schwartz says the military used these secret missions to teach bombardiers how to arm and deploy nuclear weapons during combat.
Back in the 1950s, when we were first getting into this, the Strategic Air Command wanted to make sure that we could actually carry out an attack, which means that you have to practice and pretend like you're actually going to attack somebody, because the last thing that the military wants is to have somebody in a plane or a missile silo somewhere saying, gee, you know, is this really a good idea?
But Schwartz questions the safety of flying armed nuclear weapons over U.S. soil.
There's no reason why defending this country required us to subject the citizens of this country to accidental nuclear attack.
The military gave up its search for the Goldsboro bomb years ago, claiming that this steel capsule of nuclear material had sunk so deep into the ground that it no longer posed a threat. But Doug Keeney says the most horrifying secret buried in Goldsboro is how close the bomb came to detonating. Top secret documents reveal that the weapon nearly exploded as it plummeted to Earth.
The bomb involved in the Goldsboro crash came closer than any bomb ever to exploding. There are 6 fail-safe gates in any thermonuclear bomb, and when they finally analyzed the bombs that they did recover, they found, much to their horror, that 5 of these fail-safe gates had activated. But for one fail-safe gate, Goldsboro, North Carolina wouldn't be here today.
Goldsboro was a close call, but Keeney and other experts agree that the most controversial case involving a broken arrow occurred in Savannah, Georgia. February 8, 1958. A B-47 armed with a nuclear bomb has just completed a nighttime training mission. The pilot of the bomber, Howard Richardson, is about to head back to base with his crew.
All of a sudden we felt a joke, and it was really a joke. Co-pilot and I just immediately knew something. We knew it must have been a mid-air collision, because nothing could have jolted us that much. And we looked out, and there's a fireball on our right wing.
Richardson's B-47 has accidentally been clipped by another plane. a U.S. fighter jet. His number 6 engine is dangling from the wing. Richardson knows the only way to safely land his plane is to drop the nearly 8,000-pound hydrogen bomb.
And the first priority was the safety of the crew. So I decided we just going to get 7,600 pounds lighter all of a sudden.
Richardson has been told by his superiors that the bomb is unarmed, so he decides to release the weapon over what he thinks is open sea. But it accidentally lands in the nearby Wassaw Sound. And recently declassified documents reveal another secret. The bomb may have been armed after all. The bomb had detonated. Keeney says it would have leveled the city with a blast as powerful as 3.8 billion pounds of TNT.
If the Savannah bomb were to go off, the destruction that would then ensue is beyond human imagination. Nuclear weapons are just so powerful. The thermal pulse, the shock wave, the radiation, the carnage it would visit upon any city, much less a beautiful city like Savannah, Georgia, it is really beyond our own imagination.
But the bomb did not detonate, and today it remains buried in these murky waters. Until it is found, Keeney believes it's a ticking time bomb that continues to pose a threat to the people of Savannah.
To determine from the documents that have been released, this bomb is still capable of a nuclear explosion. This bomb is live.
But even if the bomb is live, others argue that there's very little chance that it could explode today.
Does it stand a chance of going off accidentally at this late date, being so waterlogged and corroded? Almost certainly not. But it nevertheless should be a matter of concern.
The military stopped searching for the Savannah bomb only 6 weeks after it was lost. Some say the investigation was just too expensive.
They just decided that it wasn't worth the time and money to try to find a bomb that they could, after all, get easily replaced by the Atomic Energy Commission.
The U.S. government apparently has no plans to resume the search for the Savannah bomb, and it refused our requests for comment. But Howard Richardson wants the government to find it and put an end to the speculation that the bomb is still live.
I wish they'd go back in and settle this once and for all, because I think the detection equipment is much better than it was back in those days, 42 years ago.
In the war of the future, the United States will not only be attacked with planes, bombs, and bullets, but also with an invisible lethal weapon, digital data that will come directly through our phone lines. When an enemy hacks into our computer systems, financial institutions will suddenly collapse. 911 emergency calls will go unanswered. Air traffic control systems will break down, stranding airplanes in the sky. And city by city, the nation's electronic infrastructure will crumble. Could it happen? Incredibly, the answer is yes. So now, the United States is fighting a secret war, one designed to stop computer terrorists in their tracks.
Potentially, we face a virtual electronic Pearl Harbor if we don't get things together.
It's no secret that everything Americans rely on, from transportation to finance to telecommunications, is linked to elaborate computer network. And the nation's top information security analyst, Wynn Schwartau, believes that the U.S. is vulnerable to an electronic attack.
The nation's computers today, the critical infrastructures, the very blood that makes this country and a good portion of the world operate and function today, are very poorly protected.
Schwartau says a foreign adversary or cyber terrorist doesn't even need to be an expert computer programmer to hack into our critical system. In some cases, it can be done with nothing more than the click of a mouse.
What you're doing, in a sense, is you're building a national consensus. This is a national emergency and actions have to be taken.
Dr. Daniel Keel is a leading expert in information warfare strategy. He says even the smallest and poorest nations could pose a threat to the United States and should not be underestimated.
If another country is militarily weak conventionally, and we are strong in that area, then they're not going to pose us that way. They're going to pose us some other way, perhaps using information warfare.
But here's another secret. Dr. Keel says that the Department of Defense's computer systems have been broken into tens of thousands of times by foreign and domestic hackers. So now, the U.S. military is launching a top-secret counterattack. Kelly Air Force Base, San Antonio, Texas.
Good afternoon.
To a heavily guarded facility called the Air Intelligence Agency. It's the maximum security nerve center of the Air Force's battle against information warfare. Although it's highly classified, Colonel James Massario agreed to take us inside their futuristic war room.
In this information age, you have to make sure that you're protected from all different angles and at all different sides. In order to do that, the threat can be coming from anywhere. And because of that, we have to protect all of our computers throughout the Air Force. And we do that with different sensors. So let's go into the apps.
Room 10 hut.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, a highly skilled cyber team is on the lookout for any intruder that attempts to break into the Air Force's computer data.
I had 3 alerts up. The one that's most important right now is the one that shows shadow.
To assist in the search for electronic terrorists, the Air Force has developed a digital detective program known as ASIM. This top-secret program monitors every Air Force base in the world. If an electronic invasion occurs, the team is alerted within 30 seconds. Immediately, they begin to track the intruder. Each day, there are between 800 and 1,000 alerts, but not all of them pose a threat.
One of the problems that we have with this is identifying who's the bad guy at the other end of the wire. Somebody's at your front door, your electronic front door of your networks, and they're knocking away trying to break in. Who is it? Is it a 15-year-old kid sitting in his parents' attic? Or is it some fanatic for some purpose, some terrorist group, some religious group, whoever it is, 10,000 miles away? You don't know.
Any hacker that attempts to break into the system will learn the hard way about the Air Force's secret defense program. Will be immediately shut down.
We're not playing games in any way, shape, or form. We have to defend ourselves. The Air Force does that. We do it with fighters. We do it with bombers. At the same time, now we got to do it with computers.
The military can't defend against every cyber terror, but experts agree that this secret war can be won through cooperation.
The U.S. government needs leadership, first of all. We really need to get somebody up there who understands what this thing is all about, what the new national security paradigm is all about, and that the private sector and the government, we're all in this thing together, people.
For now, Americans can only hope that the military's vigilant presence on the internet will serve as a deterrent to electronic invaders everywhere. Another one of the military's best secrets was revealed early on a Thursday morning in the city of Los Angeles, June 1991. It's not an earthquake. This powerful shockwave comes from somewhere above. Seismologists at the U.S. Geological Survey tracked the sonic boom across Southern California. It's caused by an unidentified object, invisible to radar, that moves at a speed approaching Mach 4, nearly 3,000 miles per hour. Then, the UFO vanishes near an Air Force base in southern Nevada. In the years that follow, these mysterious skyquakes occur several more times. What could possibly fly so fast and create such an intense sonic boom? Some believe it's a new top-secret spy plane called the Aurora.
There are supersonic aircraft operating whose existence is not being acknowledged by the authorities.
Aerospace journalist Bill Sweetman claims this mysterious aircraft was accidentally revealed in the 1986 Pentagon budget. Along with existing spy planes, the SR-71 and the U-2.
It was an editing mistake in that edition of the budget, and not surprisingly, it disappeared from the budget after.
Then, in the late 80s and 90s, rumors about the Aurora's amazing capabilities began to spread.
Aurora is a supersonic, possibly hypersonic reconnaissance aircraft that replaces the SR-71. Most likely, it combines very high speed, probably in excess of 2,000 miles an hour, with improved low observable or stealth technology relative to the SR-71.
Sweetman believes it might even be able to fly above the Earth's atmosphere, undetected by radar.
Something like Aurora would certainly use some very advanced technology.
Only a few facilities in the country could design and build a high-tech spy plane like the Aurora. Sweetman says it is most likely being assembled at the Lockheed Skunk Works plant in Palmdale, California. While Lockheed refuses to confirm or deny that it's working on the Aurora, the company has a long history of building spy planes for the government. In fact, it developed the Aurora's predecessor, the U-2, and the SR-71 Black. In 1990, the SR-71 was officially retired.
I think it's very, very strange that the SR-71 should have been retired as abruptly as it was, and even stranger that it was retired without any major complaints from the Air Force.
Sweetman believes the Aurora is most likely the replacement, and it's now being tested at a top-secret Air Force facility in the Nevada desert, known as Area 51. That would explain those mysterious sonic booms that have been traced to southern Nevada.
This is basically the Air Force's secret equivalent of Edwards Air Force Base.
For decades, conspiracy theorists have suspected that Area 51 is the military's secret storage facility for captured alien spaceships. But serious-minded government watchdogs like Don Emery, who manages the privately owned Area 51 Research Center, believes the mysterious UFOs in the Nevada sky were made here on Earth.
The Area 51 Research Center was set up to try to find out what's actually going on at Area 51 and other bases like that around the country.
Emery agreed to take us to the top secret base, but first, he showed us how workers are shuttled to and from Area 51.
316 Delta Bravo, flight.
Just off the Las Vegas Strip, tucked into a corner of McCarran International Airport, is a restricted facility called the Janet Terminal.
This is where the Area 51 workers pick up the planes and are actually taken into Area 51. Real hush-hush operation. We don't like to even acknowledge that it's here, although obviously there it is. Janets are an unmarked 737, a white plane with a red stripe down the center. They ferry the workers in and out of McCarran Airport and take the workers up to 51. It's usually 10 to 20 flights a day.
We were denied access into the Janet Terminal, but we were able to obtain footage of one of the planes taking off. By air, it's only a 30-minute flight north to Area 51. But we had to take the 2.5-hour drive through the rugged desert of the Nellis Air Force Range. A tract of land the size of Switzerland, Nellis provides the wide-open spaces necessary for large-scale aerial maneuvers. In a remote corner of the range sits Area 51. Shrouded in secrecy, it's one of the most heavily guarded sites in the world. Its outer perimeter is monitored by a network of carefully concealed surveillance equipment. Its entrance roads are marked by warning signs and guarded by a special security force. The camouflaged officers are seldom seen outside of the unmarked vehicles that they use to patrol the area. But they make no mystery of their mission. If you take one step into restricted territory, the officers are authorized to use deadly force. That's because the secrets they're guarding are critical to national security.
The government's so secretive about the base because it's the most advanced technologies coming out of America right now. The base was created in 1955 as a joint venture between the CIA and Lockheed Martin Skunk Works to first develop the U-2 spy plane. And from there they went on to develop the SR-71 Blackbird. The stealth planes came out of there, stealth fighter and stealth bomber. A lot of advanced prototypes, all developed out here in Groom Lake.
While the military refuses to acknowledge the existence of Area 51, recent satellite photos prove that the airbase not only exists, but it's expanding.
Recently, there were newer images released from Russia. It's a new spy satellite photograph. It was March of 1998. The image was actually taken. The last satellite image that we have was from 1992. And comparing the two, the base has literally doubled in size since that time.
What's happening behind the veil of secrecy at Area 51? Could the government actually be testing a hypersonic spy plane? The Air Force denies that it's developing anything like the Aurora. But several witnesses have seen what they believe are telltale signs, such as these oddly formed exhaust trails in the sky. Sweetman says they could only be formed by an advanced pulse detonation engine, which is the type believed to give the Aurora its hypersonic thrust. Only a few people in the area have reported seeing the plane, but many more have felt its presence.
A lot of people don't actually see the plane. They say by the time they look up in the sky, it's gone. It sounds like the sky being ripped open. It's a deep, deep rumbling sound.
Some say that this amateur videotape could be the most compelling visual evidence of the Aurora. It shows two unidentified black triangles in flight. At first glance, they appear to be stealth fighters or bombers. But a closer look reveals that these aircraft appear to have neither the V-tail nor the bat-wing design of stealth planes. They more closely resemble one aeronautical expert's composite sketch of the Aurora. But others suggest that none of this evidence proves the existence of the top-secret spy plane. Skeptics argue that the military doesn't have the money or the technology to develop a plane with the Aurora's capability. So what is causing the sonic booms and the strange exhaust trails in the sky? The military believes that national security concerns far outweigh the public's need to know. But as long as the Pentagon spends billions of taxpayer dollars per year on secret projects, people like Bill Sweetman will continue to search for the truth.
People who say, there is nothing out, I would say that the size of the facility would indicate that there really should be some classified aircraft out there and some classified programs on a pretty large scale. Otherwise, I think people have got some explaining to do about where all that money went.
Another of the military's best-kept secrets surfaced at the 1996 Republican Convention in San Diego. Security is tight. Secret Service agents flank the presidential candidates on the lookout for trouble. Meanwhile, out in San Diego Harbor, a secret and elite Navy Corps patrols the dark waters on red alert. But the soldiers in this unit aren't human. They're dolphins.
This whole project is a dirty little secret that's been very well.
Rick Trout, a former Navy dolphin trainer, says these cute and lovable mammals are working underwater and undercover for the U.S. Navy. This top-secret program started in 1961, and the Navy rounded up dozens of wild dolphins and put them under scientific observation. The original plan was to build better submarines and torpedoes by studying the dolphin's hydrodynamic body structure. But the Navy quickly realized that the dolphins have natural abilities that could be put to use in clandestine operations.
The mammal is in his element, using tools that we just can't simulate with the same kind of accuracy. For instance, their sonar is amazing. We can't even get close.
Gary Ham is a retired Navy chief who worked with the Navy's marine mammals for 8 years. He agreed to talk to us only on the condition that certain aspects of the program would stay confidential.
Without getting too specific, there are some things that the mammals do, or the dolphins do, that are classified.
According to Ham, the dolphins are trained to patrol harbors, identify enemy divers, and locate mines.
Once they've positively ID'd that there is a mine down there, they retract the dolphins, get them in a safe area, and then put in the human counterpart to do the dirty work.
He says that their natural sonar makes them extremely efficient hunters. even in deep, dark water. But how could these wild animals be taught to follow orders? Rick Trout trained Navy dolphins for 4 years at this top-secret facility near San Diego. This is as close as we could get because the Navy flatly denied repeated requests for access. So Rick agreed to show it to us from the water. He got close enough to see the holding pens and training boats. Trout pointed out the blue transport tents that are used to carry the dolphins between their pens and the open ocean.
This facility right here houses probably 20 to 30 dolphins. The pens are low to the water, so it's difficult to see the animal.
Trout wanted to show us more, but we were turned back by the facility's civilian patrol.
Who are you guys with? You know your restricted waters?
Even though the military refused to talk to us about their dolphin program, we were able to obtain this once classified Navy training video. It shows in detail how the animals are prepared for active duty. This rare footage shot at the Navy's San Diego facility provides a close-up look at the dolphin training program. Here, the animals are being hoisted out of the water and placed inside narrow transport containers. Then, they are airlifted to secret locations around the world, transferred onto Navy ships to begin their active duty. Trout says the training missions, which often take place under the cloak of darkness and last several hours, are exhausting for the dolphins. Marine scientist Dr. Naomi Rose is one of the few civilians who has been allowed inside the Navy's San Diego training area. She didn't like what she saw.
These dolphins are kept in 30-foot by 30-foot pens most of their lives. Dolphins who are used to swimming up to 100 miles a day is a very disturbing sight to see them being kept like domesticated animals when that is not what they are.
I'm in here for some love. Yeah, there you go.
She says that captivity and military training are so stressful for the dolphins that many of them try to escape.
9 dolphins have gone AWOL permanently in the Navy program out of a full complement of about 100-plus animals overall. I think, human analogy, that would be an extremely high desertion rate.
Dr. Rose says the dolphins that manage to escape stand very little chance of surviving in the wild, since they have been muzzled and forced to rely on their human superiors for food.
I believe they make poor soldiers because they haven't volunteered. They're not fighting for their country, they're fighting for fish. They're fighting for the approbation of their trainers.
Good girl. Yeah. Good girl.
Dr. Rose also says the program may even shorten their lives. Dolphins live as long as 60 years in the wild, but according to these once classified documents, most Navy dolphins die before they are 20. But Rick Trout says the darkest secret of the Navy's Dolphin Project, the so-called Swimmer Nullification Program. A program in which, he claims, dolphins are trained to kill enemy divers by shooting them.
The Navy Dolphin Swimmer Nullification Program utilized a weapon just like this one. That the dolphin, after detecting swimmers, would come back to the boat and report whether it was a positive or negative detection, and then have this item, the nose cone device, placed on the dolphin's snout. The dolphin would proceed to the enemy diver. On impact, a .45 bullet would be injected into the enemy diver. This part of the device would actually float to the surface, marking the area.
While there's no documented evidence of dolphins using the nose cone device, there are reports that during the Vietnam War, at least 2 enemy divers were killed by lethal injection. The alleged assassins, U.S. Navy dolphins. The Navy categorically denies that claim and refuses to acknowledge the existence of this swimmer nullification program. But Rick Trout insists that it was in place when he worked for the Navy. In fact, it was during one of these training missions that he decided to quit the program.
They had civilian divers rehearsing dolphins for nighttime duty, which meant they had to detect whether a swimmer was in the water, then have the nose cone weapon device put on their snout. The only time one dolphin came up even near me, she dropped the weapon, threw it off her snout, came up, put her chin on my shoulder, and I'm underwater basically talking to her saying, "You're supposed to be a killer."
As long as the Navy continues to deploy dolphins on secret missions, refuses to answer the public's questions about its program, the debate will continue.
The dolphin is a true warrior and a true teammate. You can see the bond that develops between a handler and his particular dolphin, because you know that together you're going to put your butts on the line and rely on each other completely in order to come home together.
Come on, talk to me, come on. Go. Yeah.
Dolphins were not put on this planet to take orders, quite the contrary. They're kind of like juvenile delinquents in gray suits. Fun-loving creatures, and the last thing that we need to be doing is using tax dollars to teach them man's dirty tricks.
Weapon retrieval, top secret patrols, swimmer nullification. These are just some of the ways that dolphins are serving in America's armed forces and protecting the nation's shores. But what about human military personnel? What's being done to ensure their safety is also among the Pentagon's best-kept secrets. From the blood-soaked beaches of Normandy to the killing fields of Vietnam, the wars of the last century took a brutal toll on American infantrymen. In fact, foot soldiers comprise nearly 85% of all war casualties. While the Pentagon spends billions of dollars on top-secret high-flying weaponry, it is also dedicated to the safety of the 21st century soldier. Our search for the high-tech weapons of tomorrow leads us to Alexandria, Virginia. The U.S. Army granted us rare access to this heavily guarded facility known as the Material Command Center. Here, the military is developing top-secret weapons for the soldier of the future.
We work on new weapon systems, we work on computers, computer simulations, modeling, new training devices, and anything we can to give the technology edge to our soldiers in the next war. This particular
Major General David Gust agreed to reveal some of these incredible new weapons, but national security remained his top priority.
There are certain technological developments that I can't talk about that are classified.
One project the Major General was willing to talk about is called the Land Warrior, a high-tech system of electronic combat gear.
The Land Warrior concept is a major program that we have designed in the Army to enhance the performance of the soldier by giving him new technology. In effect, we have done so much with tanks and with helicopters, and we have to really consider the soldier as another weapons platform.
We managed to obtain this military videotape, which offers a rare glimpse of the Land Warrior in action. Each soldier is outfitted with a high-power weapon, which includes a thermal sight, laser rangefinder, digital compass, and a video camera. It's all connected to a miniature computer that's secured to the soldier's back. The readouts are channeled to a snap-down viewfinder mounted over the soldier's right eye. The video sight enables the soldier to target and fire at an enemy while remaining safely behind cover.
We want him to have the ability when he's fighting in urban terrain or in towns and cities to be able to look around corners of buildings without exposing his entire body and especially his face.
A tiny disc attached to the soldier's uniform actually transmits information to a global positioning satellite. Using his viewfinder display, each land warrior can call up a digital map that shows the position of his fellow soldier. He can also receive commands from his squad leader.
All of these techniques will be much greatly improved compared to using hand signals and shouting verbally on a very noisy battle.
But there's even more to this complex system. Onboard video transmitters send a live TV picture to commanders outside the combat zone. Then, the commander transmits the team's order. Now, these electronic soldiers are ready to enter a war zone and engage in combat. In recent years, American ground troops have been used predominantly as peacekeepers in urban areas. Brian Bender of the military publication Jane's Defense Weekly says that trend is likely to continue.
Everything that goes into training a soldier has to almost be redone, because instead of fighting a big war, you're going to be policing a street. You're going to possibly be forced to deal with refugees in populated areas where it's going to be very difficult to know who your enemy is.
The challenges of urban combat make the top-secret land warrior system critical to a soldier's survival. As this rare footage shows, the U.S. government is developing even more secret weapons. In the air, this tiny remote-controlled plane, equipped with an infrared camera, can track the enemy without detection. On the ground, these remote-control robots, called Critters, use sight and sound sensors to scout out danger. Designers hope that someday, Critters will be able to function anywhere, even underwater. Whether on treads or crab legs, these high-tech warriors will be an effective way to ferret out danger. What the Critters see is transmitted to TV monitors, so that commanders can determine strategies at a safe distance.
All these are designed, of course, to provide an extra set of eyes on the battlefield to the commander.
What else is the military developing? In the future, soldiers might even fly in high-tech gliders. They're among the biggest secrets in the military's research labs. Another project in development is called Smart Camouflage. The computer-controlled fibers in the suit can change appearance like a chameleon to blend in with a soldier's surroundings. But could all this top-secret gadgetry overwhelm a soldier's natural instinct?
Definitely run the risk of information overload, where not only will the information not help you, but it may even inhibit what you're doing by confusing you.
The general disagrees.
What we have to remember is that today's soldier and the soldier that we are going to be bringing into the Army over the next 10 or 15 years is very computer literate. They will not only be able to use that technology, but it will enhance their performance, because the technology is in fact a multiplier of their capability.
Military technology has come a long way since the brutal battlefields of the last century. The U.S. military is secretly revolutionizing warfare. Hopefully, making the high-tech battlefields of the future less bloody than those of the past. But what about nuclear confrontation? Is the U.S. prepared for that frightening possibility? Without warning, a battery of nuclear missiles blast through the sky. Rockets soar toward their destination, the United States. Could it happen today? Defense experts say that this nuclear nightmare is more possible now than ever.
The fact is, there's still 32,000 nuclear weapons in the world, and the chances of them being used are, in fact, probably greater than they were during most of the Cold War.
Despite what many Americans might think, Russia isn't the only nation that poses a nuclear threat to the U.S. Communist China tops a growing list of countries with nuclear capabilities.
Then you've got other countries like India and Pakistan that have nuclear weapons. There have been reports over the years that Libya has tried to buy nuclear weapons from various places. North Korea had a nuclear weapons program, which we fortunately were able to stall, and certainly Iraq has had an active nuclear weapons program. There's a great fear today that someone somewhere might try to acquire or use a nuclear weapon against the United States, and I think there is some rationale to those fears.
For obvious reasons, the U.S. government takes the threat of nuclear attack seriously and has strategic plans for just such an event. But nuclear arms experts say that most Americans would be shocked to discover that their government's doomsday plans don't include them.
The plans for the government and the plans for the public are two very different things. They're highly elaborate plans for the uppermost levels of the government, and none for us. You're on your own.
According to defense analyst Robert Norris, during the Cold War, the U.S. government set up top-secret emergency command centers for high-ranking officials only. One, which is still operating today, is called Mount Weather. Even though we were denied access to this top-secret facility, our cameras were able to catch this distant glimpse. And these aerial photos reveal the astonishing size of the compound, which is spread out over 383 acres. Blasted out of the Blue Ridge Mountains, Mount Weather has long been rumored to be the designated safe haven for the president and his top staff during a nuclear strike.
There were people within each department of the executive branch who were designated to be the people to go to Mount Weather. Now, were they told you could bring your family along? Could you bring your friends along? Your pet? Oh, you had to go by yourself.
The same rules applied at the Greenbrier Hotel. During the Cold War was where members of Congress could go in the event of a nuclear attack. For decades, the gentry of Washington vacationed at this West Virginia resort, unaware that 6.5 stories beneath them, a secret city waited to accommodate only the chosen few.
Everybody in Congress had a little card, and they practiced, and if nuclear war came, they were supposed to be able to go there with a limited number of staff, not with their families, by the way.
The sprawling underground bunker at the Greenbrier is sealed from the outside by 40,000-pound steel door. Inside, stark tunnels lead to a top-secret community that includes decontamination showers for washing away radioactivity, congressional bedroom, barracks for staffers, a cafeteria, medical clinic, and separate chambers for the Senate and House. In every way, the government is prepared for the worst. This incinerator isn't just for trash. It can also be used to dispose of the fatalities of a nuclear blast. It wasn't until 1992 that the government finally admitted to the existence of the Greenbrier bunker. And when it did, national security was cited as the reason for keeping the 32-year-old secret.
The initial reason, I think, why these plans for doomsday were kept secret was to avoid tipping our hand to the Russians. We certainly didn't want to let them know where we were building alternate command facilities because they would simply go and target them. We also didn't want to unduly panic the public, who of course was not being protected.
The Greenbrier bunker is no longer in use. One thing hasn't changed since the Cold War. Saving the president's life is still the government's top priority in the event of a nuclear attack. That's because he's responsible for launching the counterattack. But most people don't know that the president is followed closely at all times by a military aide who carries the top secret nuclear attack plans for the United States. Those documents are kept inside a briefcase known as the football.
Inside the football are some of the biggest secrets in the world. If the president had to open the football, open up a fairly common-looking briefcase, and inside would be some loose-leaf folders, and in there would be the different menus of nuclear war. Also in there are some codes, codes to authenticate that this is really the president, the commander-in-chief, contacting his forces around around the world.
In addition to the football, the president is secretly shadowed by a high-tech plane that follows him everywhere he goes. It's called the E-4B and closely resembles Air Force One.
The E-4B is the President's Emergency Airborne Command Post. It's officially known as the National Airborne Operations Center. Its code name is Night Watch.
In the event of an attack, the president would be whisked aboard the E-4B, where he could command the military from the air, safe from the destruction below. The plane is specially shielded against radiation and with mid-air refueling can stay in the air for as long as 3 days. But the government's ultimate secret war room is the NORAD Military Command Center inside Colorado's Cheyenne Mountains. NORAD, which stands for North American Air Defense, is the continent's first line of defense in case of nuclear attack. This rare footage shows NORAD's futuristic computer system that tracks ground, air, and space activities around the world. NORAD would be the first to know if the U.S. was under attack, and its warning systems would activate immediately.
Bells and whistles are starting to go off, and they're being contacted to Strategic Command, to the Pentagon, and if a few more minutes went by, the President would be contacted and informed that missiles are on the way, and the fellow with the football would get closer to the President.
Despite the military's careful and secretive planning, the latest nuclear launch technologies make it even more difficult for the U.S. to defend itself.
During the Cold War, we had the luxury of time and geography, so that if we launched an attack against Russia, or vice versa, with bombers it would take maybe 8 hours. With missiles, you might have 30 minutes. India and Pakistan, as soon as they launch, the weapon's there. It's gone. There's no warning time. There's nothing. So it's a very, very dangerous situation.
But nuclear arms experts say the darkest doomsday secret of all is that little could be done to save humanity in the event of a nuclear showdown.
The only real safety is if they don't go off